Hi, my name is Jason with MDI, and today we got another gimbal review for you, but this time it is the mini gimbal. This is the ZeusCam, distributed by RC Timer. Now, these mini gimbals are a lot smaller than the gimbals you're used to seeing. They're specifically designed for cameras like GH4, A7S, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera with a maximum payload of about 4 pounds. So you're probably not going to be able to fit a very large glass in front, but if you have a set of micro four thirds primes, then you're probably going to be okay. Now, the ZeusCam comes at about $1,000, and it comes with this nice little traveling case. Inside, you'll find the pieces to assemble your stand, the gimbal itself, top handle, and compartments for the brackets for the stand, as well as battery chargers and such. Now, the only thing that it didn't come with in the package that we received was any Allen wrenches to actually work the gimbal as far as balancing it, because this is not a toolless version. You actually do need an Allen wrench of some kind to be able to balance, and ours was unfortunately missing that piece. So without further ado, let's put this thing together. We'll be right back. All right, so now that we have the ZeusCam all set up, as you can see, it is very, very small. Now, you're going to need a set of tools, obviously, to get this thing to balance, but once you do, it's just like any other gimbal. It'll balance like so. Now, one cool little thing is there is a little bubble leveler here towards the back, so that way you can check your balance. Now, the batteries for these mini gimbals are very different compared to the other gimbals that we've reviewed. Rather, they're not a big block LiPo battery that RC units use. These kind of look like double A's, but they're actually a lot bigger. And from what I can tell, these are actually called 18,650 or 18650 batteries. So you're going to need to make sure you get exactly this type. Now, how this works is there are two ports inside the top handle here, or the top bar. Once you have those removed, the spring side is, I believe, the negative, the flat side over here. So you have to make sure that you slot it in with the flat side facing out. Two batteries go inside. Screw that back on. And then on the other side, you continue the circuit by having the flat side go in first. Two batteries. Now, you'll notice on this one, there's actually an on switch. So that is how you actually power on your gimbal. All right, once that's on, simply hit the button, makes a noise, and your gimbal is ready to go. Now, as you saw when I turned on the gimbal for the first time, it kind of went off and pitched to the left. It wasn't actually perfectly balanced, even though we had balanced it before. And this is just because the generic profile that it comes with just isn't fine-tuned for this camera. So what you have to do is you have to turn on the gimbal, plug in a USB cord in the back, and go into the tuning software to get it to balance when it turns on. So that way, once you do, it's no longer tilted. Now, if you're thinking about getting a mini gimbal for your work, there is something that you really need to consider before purchasing one. And that is that once you set up your camera, your lens, and you're on set or on any production, leave it there. Don't touch it anymore. You need to just, that's what you're going to be shooting with all day. Main reason is because of the non-toolless design, the amount of time you're going to take to rebalance everything is going to be much longer than the toolless counterparts. Not only that, there's also a couple odd design choices that makes it very hard for you to actually fine-tune anything. And also, this top bracket over here does not necessarily fit all lenses. The cutout over here around the lens barrel has a very odd taper. It's not actually a perfect circle. It's actually closer to like an egg-shaped oval, which is a very odd design. We're not sure why. So if you're trying to fit a certain lens to it, you might realize that your barrel is going to start scraping alongside of this top bracket. Now, one way to combat it is maybe you just put the top bracket a little higher, but unfortunately the top bracket does cause a very odd weight shift, so then you're going to have to try to compensate. And while doing so, you'll quickly also realize that all of these little Allen wrenches here have little screw points. It's not just one that you can slide back and forth. If you find yourself having to slide something past a certain slot, you're going to have to take out the entire screw, lift up the bar or scoot in the bar, put it into the next slot, and that again is going to take more time. And as you continue to do so, you'll also realize that these Allen wrenches on the bottom on the left motor side, you might run into the point where this will actually collide with the motor. So again, it becomes this really long act of you having to test out which one's going to work best for you. So having all said that, if you have a favorite lens that you're going to use with this gimbal and you've figured out exactly where you need to balance it, just leave it there. You're done. Don't take the camera out to shoot something else and then come back, because on the bottom side here is the last part that makes it difficult, is there's no sliding plate. Your camera is directly attached to the cage, and it's done so with one of these little quarter 20 coin screws. And the problem here is if you're trying to shift it back and forth, you're going to have to try to go up under here so that the camera doesn't slide any further. Most people will attempt to try to hold the camera in spot and try to also tighten it at the same time. And at that point, you could potentially put it out of balance. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and operate the gimbal. Now, when you get this out of the box, it comes with 5 profiles, and it's got your basic follow modes, locked off modes, and such like that. However, we had to tune each profile for the GH4 through the USB cable. So the first mode is your regular follow mode. If I go left, it'll turn left. If I go right, it'll turn right. Up and down. Mode 2 allows me to go left, right, but it's locked off when it's up and down. Mode 3 is locked off completely. The camera won't respond to any of my movements. Number 4, if you pull left or right on the joystick, it'll actually affect the roll instead of moving the camera left and right. Now, going into inverted mode, what you're going to want to do is you're going to hit it 5 times, hold on to the cage. It will go limp. And there you have it. You're now in inverted mode. And to go back, there you are. Now there is a 6th mode, and that is holding onto the mode button. And when you do that, it goes into its gyro calibration mode. All right, without further ado, let's do some test footage. As you can see, the ZeusCam does produce some very nice smooth footage. It did so in regular mode and in inverted mode. It was great. Now the big surprising one was the first running pass you see me doing, holding the top handle. On the first running pass, it was actually quite smooth, but on the second running pass, it was a little bit jumpy. I'm not sure if it's because I'm better running with the gimbal on my left hand or right hand, but the fact of the matter is that first running pass was actually surprisingly smooth. That being said, this mini gimbal is definitely very nice. However, the kicker is the price. Now, for a non-toolless version, coming in at $1,000, if you pay just a couple $100 more, you can get some toolless versions that would be better for overall production. Because, like I said, balancing this is kind of a pain, and if you do get it balanced while you're on set, you should probably just keep it there and don't touch it for the rest of the day. Now, if you're operating on a minimal budget and you have maybe 1 or 2 lenses and you only have 1 camera and you got a big shoot to do, chances are once you set this up, you're just not gonna take it off anymore. So you're gonna have to kind of block off your shots a little bit, one with all the gimbals and the ones without, which could kind of hinder continuity depending on how you're shooting. Now, another thing that I will say, there was a couple times where the motor just kind of gave out and went dead, and we suspect it's because of the battery. Now, there's no way for us to test if the battery was fully charged, if the charger was faulty, or if the batteries were faulty. We're not sure. But that being said, the gimbals that you could get for a couple $100 more, the toolless ones, those you can use much bigger LiPo batteries and therefore increase your battery life. Now, from our tests, it went up to about 2 hours. We can't really confirm it for sure, but that seems to be about where we were hitting, about 2 hours worth of use. So, in conclusion, could I recommend this gimbal? Yes, it has great results, but I think that your investment is probably better put towards a toolless version that has a bigger battery and allows you to change your camera on the fly.